As soon as the woman left the house, she realized she was being followed. To shake off her pursuer, she decisively turned right instead of making the intended left turn. At the next intersection, Francesca turned right again. Seeing that Francesca seemed to have noticed them, the following vehicle made a left turn and gave up, allowing Francesca to finally breathe a sigh of relief. Francesca came back to the same intersection, and when she was sure that no one was following her, she put on her left turn signal and turned left to drive to her destination. Francesca quietly arrived at an abandoned gas station. Seeing it was already 3 o'clock and the promised call had not come, she felt uneasy. She didn't want to answer this call because it was from her ex-boss Saul, who was now a wanted criminal. Francesca placed her hand on the car key, ready to leave as soon as the clock hit 3:01. Finally, the phone rang, and she reluctantly answered.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You're there. Great. Great. Unencumbered by curious eyes and ears, I'm guessing.
Wouldn't have picked up otherwise.
Right. Excellent. Okay. Well then, lay it on me.
First things first.
No, I believe we agreed after.
I'm hanging up.
Okay then. Jeez,
After all the years she'd worked under Saul, Francesca had learned a lot about human nature. In Breaking Bad, she had tricked Walter once to get the information he wanted. Saul, now going by the name Gene, had to reveal the location of his hidden money to Francesca. Gene had hidden the money so carefully that it took Francesca quite a while to find it. As the saying goes, money makes the world go round. Saul wanted to know what the word on the street was about him in Albuquerque. Francesca said she was still often followed. Her personal mail was opened and checked, and her home phone was tapped. She told Gene that he was now the police's only target. The police had found Jesse's car near the southern border and concluded that Jesse had crossed the border. This aligns with the plot of El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie involving Jesse. When Jesse escaped, it was Badger and Skinny who helped create this illusion. The homepage has been updated with an explanation of El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. Those interested can click to watch. Gene then asked about his assets over there, only to find out they had all been seized by the police. Although Gene was very angry, all he could do was vent. Under Gene's persistent questioning, Francesca, who was about to leave, revealed some important information. First, Prosecutor Bill had changed careers and become a lawyer. Saul's old advertisement spot had been replaced with Bill's. This also sets the stage for later developments in the plot. Another piece of information was that Kim, who hadn't been in touch for a long time, called to ask about Saul's situation after the incidents with Walter and Saul. Hearing that Kim still cared about him rekindled the old feelings Gene had buried deep inside. On his way back, Gene couldn't resist finding a phone booth to try to contact Kim. With the information he had about Kim, Gene quickly called the sprinkler company where she worked, reaching out to her under the name Victor. It's the alias Saul used when they were doing the scam together, so Kim knows it's Saul before she picks up the phone. Kim was a bit nervous, as they had been through so much together, and now Saul was a nationally wanted fugitive. Kim tried to calm her nerves before answering Saul's call.
Kim Wexler.
Hey, Kim. You know what this is? I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Gene asked Kim if their conversation could be overheard by the receptionist. Peeking through the curtains, Kim saw the receptionist wasn't bored enough to eavesdrop on their conversation. Kim asked what he wanted. Gene said there was nothing specific. He just wanted to catch up since they hadn't spoken in 6 years. Before Kim could respond, Gene boasted about how great he was, still free and evading capture by those idiots. Hearing that Jimmy was still the same, Kim told him he shouldn't have called. Seeing that Kim wasn't very welcoming, Gene was immediately angry and his attitude was as tough as ever. Kim didn't want to argue and advised him to turn himself in. Hearing Kim suggest he surrender made Gene unhappy.
Set the pot to the kettle? Wait, that is really rich. You preaching to me? See, you have no idea what I did or didn't do, okay? And why don't you turn yourself in? Seeing as how you're the one with the guilty conscience, huh? What is stopping you? Bring's in the ground. Mike's in the ground. Lalo's in the ground, apparently. You don't have to hold back on my account. They can only hang me once, so go ahead. Spill your guts. Put on your hair shirt. See what it gets you.
I'm glad you're alive.
The hard-won call ended abruptly. Enraged, Gene takes his anger out on the payphone, and as he leaves, he angrily kicks the glass of the phone booth. Agitated, Gene found it hard to focus at work. To escape this state of mind, Gene decided to return to his old ways for a thrill. When Jeff got home, he saw Gene there again. who had even taught his mother how to use a computer. This made Jean seem more considerate than Jeff, her own son. However, what Jean didn't know was that this would lead to trouble. Marion kindly asked her son to quickly bring some wine to entertain Jean. After pouring wine for Marion, Jean made an excuse to take Jeff to the garage. Much to Jeff's surprise, Jean's purpose for this visit was to get him to continue his deception. Having enjoyed the last con, Jeff didn't hesitate to accept Jean's invitation. Jean often targeted bars to scam strangers, a game he frequently played with his old buddy Marco in his younger days. In front of their target, Alfred, Jean pretended to be a bumbling fool, making Alfred completely let his guard down. While they were drinking together, Jean secretly slipped a tube hidden in his sleeve into the glass, using his other hand to suck all the liquor out of the cup. When Alfred wasn't looking, Jean pretended to finish his drink. When they had drunk their fill and were ready to leave, Jean put Alfred in Jeff's taxi, watching his prey fall into the trap step by step. Jean felt a great sense of satisfaction. In the taxi, Jeff offered Alfred a complimentary bottle of water to quench his thirst. Little did Alfred know the water was laced with something. Seeing Alfred drink the concoction, Jeff sent a signal to his accomplice. Soon, Jeff dropped Alfred off at home. Alfred was even more disoriented than before he drank the water. He wobbled as he opened the door and walked into the house, completely unaware of the tape Jeff had placed on his door lock. Jeff's job was done. The next step was for his accomplice, Buddy, to take over. With Jeff's groundwork, Buddy effortlessly snuck into Alfred's house. By then, Alfred was sleeping like a log. Buddy photographed all of Alfred's ID information and bank card numbers, then put everything back in place. To quickly access the money, Buddy took a blank check from Alfred's checkbook. He also found all the bank account passwords under a placemat. After photographing the passwords, Buddy quickly left the scene. Being his first job, Buddy almost forgot to remove the tape from the lock. Using the same method, they continued their operation, finding targets, getting them into the taxi, making them drink the sedative-laced water, and producing more of the sedative themselves when they ran out. In a short time, they gathered a lot of information. Jean once again experienced the life of Saul, and his stash of money grew, but the good times didn't last. They accidentally targeted a man with cancer. Buddy couldn't go through with it, as his father also had cancer. Hearing this made Jean very angry since they had invested so much effort into this mark. Unwilling to lose such an easy target, Jean decided that Buddy wasn't the right man for the job and promptly kicked him off the team. Jeff, not wanting to anger anyone, stayed neutral. As Buddy left, Jean reminded him to keep his mouth shut. After Buddy was gone, Jean immediately prepared to handle the job himself. Since the tape on the door had already been removed and the sedative had been in effect for too long, they had missed the optimal time. Jeff hesitated but was forced to proceed by Jean's resolute attitude. At the target's door, Jean instructed Jeff to come back and pick him up in 20 minutes. Getting more exhilarated, Jean smashed the glass on the door and sneaked inside. The target was already asleep on the floor. Jean found the important documents and took pictures of them with his camera. He also found the password casually hidden under the lamp. By this time, Jeff had arrived at the door. According to their plan, Jean should have quickly left the scene, but being caught up in the thrill, he didn't leave. Instead, he went upstairs, trying to grab more loot. Jeff was growing impatient outside. While inside, Jean leisurely sipped on a drink. Going upstairs paid off a bit. Jean took all of the target's watches. He also noticed the ashes of the cancer patient's dog. At that moment, he saw that the target downstairs was no longer there, and Jean panicked. Jean tried to go downstairs to escape, only to find the target sitting at the bottom of the stairs. With no other option, Jean grabbed the urn with the dog's ashes, ready to knock him out. Just as he was about to strike, the target fortunately fell back asleep. Seeing this, Jean quietly ran out. At the door, he saw a police car parked behind Jeff. Jeff was a little panicked, so he quietly put the car in D gear. What Jeff didn't know was that the officers were just stopping for a late-night snack. Seeing the scene, the two patrol officers reluctantly got to work. At that moment, Jean seized the opportunity to flee, leaving poor Jeff to get caught. Back at home, he used his usual magic gestures in anticipation of Jeff's call. As expected, Jeff quickly called.
Hello?
Hey, Dad. It's me. It's Jeff.
Jeff, what time is it? Are you okay?
Yeah, no, not really. Dad, I got arrested.
Oh no!
What for, Jeffy?
Together, They flawlessly proved over the phone that Jeff hadn't committed any burglary. Jean assured Jeff that he would pick him up the next day and told him not to worry, promising to get him the best defense in the world. This was the confidence of Saul Goodman. Jean immediately called Jeff's mother, knowing that Marion needed to go to the police station. However, when Jean arrived at Jeff's house, Marion didn't hear the doorbell. Wearing headphones and surfing the internet, Marion didn't hear the knocking, so Jean had to enter through the unlocked back door. Marion's panicked reaction made Jean sense something was wrong. He told her to quickly change clothes and get ready to leave. However, Marion suddenly changed her mind and wanted Jean to go alone. At that moment, Jean faintly heard sirens through her computer headphones. When he checked the computer, he saw an old Saul Goodman commercial. Jean denied that the person in the ad was him. Marion may be older, but at least she's not demented. Jean guessed that Jeff must have told his mom about his identity, but Marion explained she just searched con man and Albuquerque online, and the Better Call Saul ad popped up. Ironically, Jean was the one who had taught Marion how to use the internet. Marion plugged the computer's internet cable into the phone, ready to call the police, but Jean violently yanked the cable out. Jean told her Jeff was in trouble and that he was trying to help him, insisting that he needed Marion's cooperation. While explaining, Jean continued to hold the cable. Seeing Marion's terrified expression, Jean put the cable down, telling her not to cause trouble. But Marion had already pulled out her emergency alert necklace. Jean threatened Marion not to call for help and snatched the device from her. At this moment, Marion felt utterly desperate and said something.
I trusted you.
This statement awakened Jean's inner conscience, and he put the alert device down. Marion resolutely activated the alert device.
Life alert. Are you okay?
No, Valerie, I'm not okay. There's a criminal standing in my kitchen threatening me. He's a wanted man, and his name is Saul Goodman.
All right, Marion, I'm calling the police. I'm calling right now.
Realizing the severity of the situation, Jean knew he was in big trouble and fled immediately.